Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where you get unconventional insights into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Discover data-driven strategies and learn from a wealth of experience so that you can take your retirement to the next level. Now, here's your host. He was once bitten by a harbor seal, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
Okay, we are back on Personal Pension Radio, the podcast that is all about helping you prepare for your climb up the mountain towards retirement and actually being able to make it all the way back down the mountain without running out of money or sacrificing your lifestyle along the way. I'm joined in studio right now by Justin Bonestroo. Hello there, Justin.
Hi, Kraig.
Fantastic to have you here. That is, by the way, my word of the podcast all the way through is fantastic. I got to choose a new word, I think. But again, joined in studio, Justin Bonestroo, partner and executive vice president at Actuarial Consultants Inc. We're going to get into a great conversation with Justin today, and we'll go into the details about what ACI is, his company, in just a moment, but we are broadcasting here from the 95th floor of the Personal Pension Radio Tower, beautiful South Corona. And again, our mission, if you haven't already listened to previous episodes, definitely go back, check out those previous episodes. But we are all about bringing together experts needed to help business owners and professionals and folks who are saving for and hoping for and planning for retirement. We're here to help you build and protect that wealth and the lifestyle today and generationally so you can take it with you into retirement. It's not enough to actually have a large retirement account balance. You've got to have a plan to turn it into income. And that's our specialty at Personal Pension Radio. So now, before we jump into business stuff, Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you a native Californian?
I am. I was born and raised in Ontario, have lived pretty much my entire life in the Inland Empire. I spent about 5 years living in Los Angeles after getting out of college and was able to move back about 10 years ago. I live in Eastvale now and love living out here in the Inland Empire.
So Justin is a rarity. Just for the record, when I moved here from Maine many moons ago, the very first bumper sticker that I remember said, "Welcome to California, now go home." That was the bumper sticker that I remember. So what I've learned over the years is there's very few real Californians left.
Well, I would be one of them.
Yes. Now, so is there a family, wife, kids? Tell me about the family.
Yeah, I've been married for 11 years now to my beautiful wife, Callie, and we have 2 children. I have a 5-year-old daughter who is a sports nut. She loves doing anything she can with her dad, including working on cars and playing baseball.
Oh, working on cars and maybe motorcycles?
Motorcycles, too. She enjoys getting to watch Daddy out there riding his bike.
Outstanding.
And I've got a 4-month-old son as well.
That's right. Your future baseball Hall of Famer, is that right?
Absolutely. Well, Claire may be a baseball Hall of Famer, too.
Okay. That's outstanding. Now, did you go to school in California? Where did you ultimately go to, school after high school and all that?
I did. Keeping with that Inland Empire theme, I went to the University of Redlands.
Oh, outstanding. Okay, fantastic. And there's something about Justin that we won't go into great detail on the academics, but just so that you know, Justin is an actuary. If you don't know what actuary is, if you look up smart people in the dictionary, there'll be a reference to the word actuary, and that'll take you to the word actuary. So yeah, actuarial science is something that you've heard us talk about on Personal Pension Radio, and it is an amazing science. It really is. It's an art form, and you've got to be a math gymnast to understand it.
It's definitely a challenge. It took a lot of work to get here.
That's fantastic. So I appreciate that. So what I'd like to do before we start is I always like to start with a favorite motivational quote if I can. And you had a really cool one from your grandfather.
Yeah, I catch myself a lot of times when after something happens, and man, if I would have only, or if I had done this, and my grandpa would always tell me, if my foresight were as good as my hindsight, I'd make it through this life on a nickel.
That is so true. It's just a different way to look at the whole hindsight 2020. I love that. Mm-hmm. Foresight is good as my hindsight. I'll have to keep that one in mind. Well, I tell you what, if you would give us a little background as far as Actuarial Consultants Inc., what it's all about. And for the listening audience, I think it's an important piece that you understand the theme today, that we're going to talk about common misunderstandings in small business retirement plans. And I asked Justin if he would also participate in an exercise that I thought would be valuable for the listening audience, which is a dive into a recent article that I referenced on a podcast 2 episodes ago now. And I want to dive into that because I'll get some more specifics on that as we get to that portion of the interview. But if you could, Justin, give us some background on your life as an actuary on Actuarial Consultants Inc.
Sure. I'll start with Actuarial Consultants. We are what's called a third-party administrator. And what that means is it's a very niche industry. We work on qualified retirement plans, but not necessarily on the investment side of things. Whenever I try to tell people what I do, they say, oh, so you can help me with my 401k investments. But what we actually handle is more like the CPA of a retirement plan. We help set up the legal structure of the plan, and we help with the ongoing compliance rules and the complicated Internal Revenue Code as they relate to qualified retirement plans. And ultimately prepare, at the end of the year, we prepare all required filings for plans as well.
So I guess a really important way that I kind of sum it up is that, and the 401k has some real serious rules and regulations attached to it. Justin is that, if we use my mountain climbing analogy, Justin is that mountain climbing guide that makes sure that you get up and down that 401k mountain without making a mistake.
We are the Qualified Plan Sherpa.
I love it. The Qualified Plan Sherpa. You heard it right here on Personal Pension Radio. Was that just born today?
I made it up while you were talking.
Made it up on the fly. I love it. Well, now it's recorded for time and all eternity, so that's great. Tell me, when you think of common mistakes, we talked about misunderstandings, common mistakes. When you think about common misunderstandings that you see in small business and small business approach to retirement plans, what do you see out there? What are some of the common mistakes?
Yeah, the biggest misunderstanding that I see with retirement plans is the fact that business owners don't necessarily understand what their options are with a retirement plan, with a 401k plan in particular. The Internal Revenue Code is quite robust as it applies to these plans. And
quite robust. Is that a nice way of saying that it's very thick and laden with lots of little pitfalls?
There are a lot of options, a lot of places to go wrong in these plans, and just a lot of ways that they can be set up. So a lot of times when business owners come to us to set up a plan, they have somewhat of an idea of how they would like that plan to work, but they don't realize the number of options that they have available to them. Different ways that 401k deferrals can be structured, different ways that we can structure company matching contributions, profit sharing contributions, or even adding a second plan like a defined benefit plan to help maximize savings.
That's an important piece there, that when you listen to this, it's important to note, if you are a participant or an employee listening to this as it relates to your 401k, for example, or if you're an employer, you may not know this, that what Justin is saying is it sounds like a 401k can really be an a la carte. It can be customized. It can be designed. Doesn't have to be just an off-the-shelf kind of thing.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of the major terms that we use in our office is plan design. It's the first step to setting up a successful retirement plan, is making sure that we've worked with the business owner to figure out their goals, get them to understand what their goals could be. They don't always understand that there are these options, and then we help to design something that really fits their needs.
Now, I like that. What else do you see out there that perhaps would qualify as a misunderstanding, that people think one way, or they think this about a 401k, for example, but maybe it's not the complete picture?
Kind of related to the first misunderstanding is that once a plan is set up, it doesn't mean that the plan is going to continue or has to continue that way forever. Plans can be amended. They can be changed as a business changes. Goals are going to change. Demographics will change. And most likely the plan is not going to, the plan in its initial form is not going to fit the growth of the company. So it's important to take a look at goals and how they've changed over time, and look at the plan and see if there are ways that it can be optimized for the current situation.
Is there anything that a participant or an employee can do to influence change in a 401k? Have you seen that before, for example, where a participant might be out talking to one of their friends who says, oh, our plan does this, and they look back and ask, and they find out their plan at work doesn't do that. That's something that could be changed? Or
we do see it from time to time. Participants will have particular needs in a plan, and they'll go to whether it's human resources or whoever the retirement plan committee is that makes those decisions and offers suggestions. It's not necessarily their decision to make those choices, but it is important for them to let their company know what they would like the plan to look like as well.
Gotcha. That's very interesting. Anything else you can think of you want to add in there as far as common misunderstandings or mistakes related to it that come to mind for you?
Sure. A lot of times when we see plans set up, I think business owners are not necessarily educated in their responsibilities on what their role is in running the plan and some of the liabilities that exist with those responsibilities as well. So something that we really try to focus on in our office is educating our plan sponsors so they understand their roles. And the education isn't just about the good things about a plan either. It's about those tough conversations and telling them when something isn't allowable or when they're not allowed to
No, that's a very good point. We talk about, we've talked about it on the podcast before, that when you look at building a financial house, just like a business or a piece of real estate, you build it with protection in mind. And the 401k, for example, is an awesome tool as an employee retention vehicle, an employee great talent attractant. If you've got a good, strong 401k offering, but as the employer, and just as a matter of note, a plan sponsor, we're talking about the employer, the business owner.
Yes,
right?
That's correct.
So that plan sponsor is doing the right thing by offering a 401k as part of their benefits package, but they have to be made aware of what risks come with it, and those risks are not in and of themselves something that the business owner can't take care of. They just don't always get told that they're there.
That's true. A retirement plan is, by implementing a plan, a business owner becomes what's called a fiduciary, and it's their responsibility to operate the plan solely for the benefit of participants and their beneficiaries. And I don't think that's always communicated to a business owner as they set the plan up. So it's something we try to make sure we have those conversations with all of our clients so they understand their roles and help them set up a process to make sure that they don't run into those pitfalls.
Gotcha. No, I totally agree. I think it's very important. And I've heard it a few times where a business owner is all about the 401k, trying to get a tax benefit or trying to do this. And the conversation I'm sure you probably have is steering people back around to, if the primary reason for it is not to provide a benefit to the employee, you got to be careful with why you're doing it. Right?
That's true. And we have a number of plans that are set up to help the entrepreneur business owner save for their retirement.
Yeah.
The benefit to their being able to save for retirement is that they're offering this plan for their employees. It's just important to know that even if their goal is personal retirement savings, the set of laws in place around qualified retirement plans require them to protect their employees' retirement savings as well.
Yeah, for sure. When you mention business owners don't understand their options when it comes to designing a program, you talked about plan design. What are some of the examples of these options that are out there? I mean, people don't necessarily understand that they can sometimes design a 401k almost like buying a car. I want leather seats and I want cruise control, and you can design a plan with some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Usually what we start out in that conversation is we identify there are two main types of plans that we see, and that's the owner-driven plan, like I talked about, where the owner is trying to help maximize their personal retirement savings. Or separately, we see usually in larger professionally run corporations, we see more true employee benefit plans.
Right.
The breakdown, the answer is different depending on which situation you're in, but one of the specialties in our office is helping the entrepreneur build their retirement plan to help maximize their savings. And we see a lot of plans that come in the door and the owner wants to maximize their savings. Well, I'm already putting $15,000 in my 401k, so I'm maximizing it.
Right.
We point out that, first of all, the 401k limit has gone beyond $15,000.
That's right. They don't even know that the limit went up.
Yeah, and that potentially a 401k plan can put away, in excess of $50,000 if you take into account matching contributions and profit sharing contributions.
Let's stop on that for a moment. That is an outstanding point. If you're listening to this and you are a 401k plan sponsor, the employer, right? If you're the business owner, and you're still operating under the idea that you can put $15,000 or $18,000 or $16,000 in your 401k, you might want to consider a conversation with someone like Justin, because you have not yet been properly informed. You're missing options in your plan you don't understand. They're very powerful accumulation tools, especially if you maximize them. So that's huge. You said up to $50,000, but I'm sure that requires some customization. It requires some options.
It does. Retirement plans, when they're set up in that way to maximize an owner's retirement benefit, they are still required to put in some level of contributions for employees. A number of different ways that money can go into a plan. Like I said, 401k deferrals, company match, company profit sharing. Every way that money can go into a plan has what's called a discrimination test associated with it.
Gotcha.
To be sure that if the business owner is getting this tax deduction, that it's truly a company-wide retirement plan and not just a way for them to save on their own personal taxes. And every situation is different. It's very demographic driven, but a quality third-party administrator like ACI will sit down and look at current census, employee demographics.
Thank
and
you.
Help.
So this is just one of the things that I stop on with an alert for definitions and geek terminology is when we talk about we talked about discrimination. So we're not talking about human rights discrimination. We're talking about employee benefits discrimination. And that discrimination definition crosses company lines. It's one of the mistakes that I've heard of that employers make is they do not understand that the discrimination testing covers any business they own. They have to be careful.
That's true, and we see that a lot where a business owner maybe has multiple companies and they've only set up a plan in one company, haven't notified anybody who's running their plan that they own a separate business. And
wow.
It's definitely one of those pitfalls that we talk about and something that we make sure to educate our business owner clients on up front.
Now, that leads to this next question, which I had was, we've talked about it in the past as far as the liabilities associated with 401k, but really have a great opportunity with Justin and his expertise on the actuarial side and plan administration to talk about some of these ways to manage the liability of the 401k, because the 401k is a fantastic thing to have. It's a great, again, employee and team building benefit. And it's a great accumulation vehicle to grow as you climb the mountain towards retirement. But if you don't understand the risks, there's some serious risks in there. And how do you help what are some of the ways that business owners can really manage that liability?
The first step in helping manage that liability is definitely understanding it. Understanding, like we talked about, that the plan needs to be run in a way to exclusively benefit all of the participants and their beneficiaries.
Right, not to the specific exclusion of just the higher level management or owners.
Exactly. And also then understanding what that means. The Department of Labor has on their website a complete session on fiduciary training. It talks about what it means to manage a plan for the exclusive benefit of that group.
Notice that term, though. The Department of Labor is the one that comes in to check you out when it comes to 401k, isn't it?
It's true. The Department of Labor is who's concerned about fiduciary liabilities, and the Internal Revenue Service is more concerned about that the plan's being operated properly from a tax perspective.
Gotcha. So our two favorite people now.
Yeah, absolutely. The second is making sure to set up processes. There are a lot of moving parts in retirement plans. 401k plans, for instance, have to make deferrals every time a payroll is run. and employees have a portion of their paycheck that's sent into the retirement plan. That process needs to be sure that it runs smoothly and within a certain time period every single payroll. So setting up, that's just one example, but setting up a set of processes.
And it needs to be documented, right? It's got to be carefully recorded. I've heard of examples of people processing things in kind of a loose kind of a system where money never actually made it to where it was supposed to go because it wasn't being tracked correctly.
Yeah, and that's the third thing that I have here is that all of these processes, all of business owners' responsibilities need to be documented, because if the Department of Labor comes in and you've always done everything the right way, but you have no documentation to be able to prove it,
right,
it's as if it wasn't done. So
right.
The three things that a business owner should really do to manage these liabilities, like I said, is to understand them, to follow a process to actually accomplish them, and to make sure to document what's been done.
Now, what Justin just said, just in those three things, is a time-consuming, education-based, challenging prospect for a business owner to step away and actually do that. So if you're out there listening to this and you're overwhelmed by the thought of it, that's why you work with someone like Justin. You got to have a team that handles that for you, a team that can handle that education piece, the organizational piece, consulting on the systems and the structure. That right there is where the value of an actuarial team, a third-party administrative team that comes in with that systems and training in place. So that's Justin is right now handing me a $20 bill for saying that with the passion that I just did.
I will be taking you on my sales meetings from now on.
That's right. I'll be the guy in the back on the, just sitting there ready to lurch out. That's actually outstanding. That is it's a great way for us to transition into this final piece that Justin and I are going to do together, which is we're going to go through an article that was actually written by Garrett Gunderson. And as always, all of this material is going to be in the show notes. But there has been more than one person, and to call Justin out, he's very honest with me, that there's been a perception that I have a generally negative opinion on 401k. And what I want to do is go through this article by Garrett Gunderson, which is the 13 reasons why your 401k is your riskiest investment. And I want to go through that, and I want you to note something right up in the beginning. I am definitely pro 401k as an accumulation vehicle. The piece that I really want to bring out to people is the education necessary to do it right. You've got to be educated. You have to understand the pitfalls so that you can truly benefit from the things that are good about it. So let's jump into this right now. Let's swing over here. And again, this article will be linked up on the show notes. But it's 13 reasons why your 401k is your riskiest investment. Now, Justin and I are going to jump through this thing fairly quick. Just some, I guess, down and dirty just tips and comments here as we go through it, okay? Okay, so let's start with number one. The number one risk, you can be wiped out overnight. Now, I'm going to say no. Come on. This is not specifically related to 401k. How many people, Justin, lost half their house value in the course of just a month or two and had no way to sell the darn thing?
Yeah, for me personally, I did lose a lot of my 401k plan during 2008, but my 401k balance has come back and rebounded much better than my house price has.
Exactly. So here in Southern California, what we did is we had a party in the town square. We all brought our equity to the middle of the town square and we set it on fire. Right? So for Garrett Gunderson to say you could be wiped out overnight in your 401k, no. That's not isolated just to a 401k. I think that's probably true of every investment. Okay? How about this one? Administrative fees and the tyranny of compounding costs. Well, he goes on to say something like the fees of 2% in 401ks. Well, are there fees for investing? Well, yeah, but are there fees for buying real estate?
Yeah, there are fees in any type of investment vehicle.
No matter what.
And it is important for a business owner, it's one of their fiduciary responsibilities to keep an eye on those fees, to do periodic benchmarking. But the fact is, just because something is the cheapest doesn't mean it's the best.
Exactly. But you just pointed out a really important piece, and this is the part of the education that I have to make sure to emphasize, that as a plan sponsor, as the employer, if you are not monitoring, if you cannot tell someone what the fee structure is on your 401k and when the last time it was benchmarked, you're at risk. You are at risk. If the Department of Labor comes for a visit, that might be an area that gets you in trouble.
And that's part of the documentation that every plan should have.
Yeah, that's good. So number 3, there's no cash flow for better opportunities. Well, let's talk about what is a 401k for. It is for accumulation designed to draw income in retirement. It is not to go buy a piece of real estate. It's not to go buy a classic car. It's not to go invest in something else. It's saving money aside for retirement, right? So the idea that this is a risk, that there's no cash flow for better opportunities, that's not right. 401k is never intended to be a cash flow vehicle. It's an accumulation vehicle for retirement. How about lack of liquidity when you need it most? Number 4, lack of liquidity when you need it most. Really, I say this, Justin, that you've got to have an emergency fund. You have to have savings elsewhere. Your 401k, again, is not the only place that you're going to save for retirement, right?
That's true. And most 401k plans do offer some level of access, whether it's through what's called a hardship distribution or loans.
Oh, very good, right.
The good point that is made in the article is that the money is potentially subject to a penalty. But again, as you said before, the 401k plan is meant to be an accumulation vehicle, and those parameters are put in 401k plans on purpose.
On purpose, right. It's there so that you can actually have it when you really need it, which is someday down the road when you want to draw income from the darn thing. But it's never intended to be your only retirement or your only bucket of money. So if you don't have an emergency fund for that liquidity when you need it most event, then that's something you've got to work on. Here's one, number 5, lack of knowledge encourages unconscious in investing. Could that be said for stocks, bonds, mutual funds, gold, silver, real estate? Yes, it's not just the 401k that folks need to be educated on when they make an investment.
Yeah, this is more, to me, just a general investment issue.
It sounds like he was just adding stuff so that he could get to 13. Because that doesn't make sense. That's not related to 401k specifically. That's anything, any investment you make. Fear of taxes. This is the one I have a real issue with. Number 6, fear of taxes leads to underutilization. That is exactly flipped upside down. The reason people use 401k is for the tax benefit, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
I'm a little confused by that.
Yeah, he's saying that basically the fear of taxes leads to people not using it as well. Well, no, that's exactly wrong. People use it because of the tax benefits. So interesting there. Now, I've said this before, higher tax brackets upon withdrawal, right? Justin, you might agree. Do you believe that taxes will be higher in the future in general?
In general, it's completely possible,
yeah.
But 401k plans offer what's called a Roth deferral.
Exactly.
So if that's what your concern is, you can put money in and be taxed on it today.
Yes,
and not be taxed.
You can actually add a Roth component to your 401k. That's an excellent point. But even if taxes are higher in the future, I've talked about this on the podcast before, if you don't send $5,000 off to the IRS because you deferred it by putting money in a 401k, you've got to save that money somewhere else. That money doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Congress and the IRS. Someday they're going to come and ask for that money back. If you don't have that money set aside growing somewhere else, you're not going to be prepared to give it back. So you just have to plan for the fact that those taxes are going to be due someday and accumulate that money somewhere else. Okay? How about no exit strategy? He says early withdrawal penalties and borrowing rules and taxes. Well, Of course there's a withdrawal strategy. It's called Get to 59.5. There's an interesting nuance, Justin, that you mentioned about when you get to 59.5, you might still be planning on working until 65 or 67. But at 59.5, there's an interesting nuance with a 401k plan as it relates to liquidity.
Yeah, at 59.5, there is a 10% early withdrawal penalty that is assessed if you take money out of your retirement plan before age 59.5. And that's kind of an oversimplification of the rule.
Right.
But once you reach that age, a lot of plans will offer what's called an in-service withdrawal, which means you can start taking money out of the plan even though you're still working. And what we see is once you reach that age, maximizing your deferrals into a 401k plan makes sense because you're definitely getting the maximization of your tax benefits,
right?
But you still have access to take that money back out if you do need it for cash flow purposes.
Right. So again, exit strategy, a 401k is not an investing vehicle for other things during your accumulation years. It is designed to have a pool of money for income and retirement. So it does have specifically an exit strategy.
Yeah, and I should point out that not every plan offers in-service withdrawals. So if it's something that you wanted to do, it's worth looking to make sure that your plan does actually offer that.
That's a very good point. See, remember that customization, that the plans can be adjusted. They can be modified. Number 9, 401ks are easy targets for estate taxes. Okay. Number one issue that I have with this is that the current estate tax laws have increased the exemptions for estate taxes so that, 99% of the population is not currently at risk of an estate tax. So first of all, the idea that a 401k could be subject to an estate tax does not really affect the vast majority of people. But there are ways, for example, with beneficiary designations and things that can be done that can help to insulate some of that potential tax issues or estate tax issues. But is the 401k ever intended to be the only asset that someone has? No, we want to have more than one asset anyway. So could it be a target of estate taxes? I suppose. I mean, they could change the rules or be more aggressive with it.
That's true. And for that small part of the population where the 401k would be subject to both income tax and estate tax, hopefully with asset accumulation at that level, they've done some significant estate tax planning in the first place.
Good point. Asset accumulation at that level, if your advisors have not helped you do some additional creative planning, then mistake for you. Definitely need to plan on that. Number 10, we're almost wrapping up here on the 13. The government owns your 401k and can change the rules at will. How do you feel about that one? The government owns your 401k and can change the rules at will.
The government has oversight on all tax laws. So this is really, it's a true statement, but it's not isolated to 401k.
Exactly. They can change the rules on real estate. They can change the rules on 401k. They can change the rules on, and lo and behold, they did. They changed the rules on taxation for Social Security. I mean, remember years back when Social Security was supposed to be a tax-free benefit, and now up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxed as part of your income. So to say that the government can change the rules on 401ks is something that it appears that he's saying is directed really towards 401k. That's just not right. It's actually, they can do that on anything. Okay? So you just bury your money in the backyard and make sure you remember where you put it. Now, let's see. So number 11, turmoil in retirement. It's a big risk. When it comes to withdrawing money in retirement, you might be able to stomach taxes, but what if the interest rates go up and down? What if rates of return go up and down? What if we have a recession? Turmoil is, again, this is not a risk of a 401k. This is just a general risk, right? It's just a general risk. Because like I said before, and Justin said it, we all lost money on real estate. I mean, there's people out there that have no 401ks and that live entirely on real estate rental income. And they got completely hammered in 2009 and 10. completely hammered because they lost tenants, their rental income went down, so they didn't have any 401k assets, but they still got hit badly by turmoil. Number 12, lost without a comprehensive plan. Wait a minute. Again, we're attacking 401ks here in Garrett Gunderson's article. At least he's attacking 401k with the title of the article. But lost without a comprehensive plan, that's not 401k. That's just in general. So, I mean, you've got to have some sort of a macroeconomic plan, right, Justin? I mean, you can't just, 401k isn't the answer by itself.
No, I think most of these points, as you pointed out, these are just issues that need to be considered with your entire portfolio in retirement.
Exactly. Not specifically the 401k as a culprit of some kind. It's part of that macroeconomic plan, but that this is a giant risk of your 401k, no. It's just risk in general. And then a neglect of stewardship and responsibility. Wow, that's a really big way to end. The 401k plan, he goes on to say, the 401k plan encourages people to give up responsibility for their investment decisions. Well, what did we just talk about in the beginning of this interview, Justin? We talked about taking responsibility for the plan, educating yourself, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of research out there that shows using mutual fund products like target date funds or target risk funds, where it's a product that does the thinking for you, handles investments for participants. A lot of research out there that shows those types of products really result in better retirement savings, because the general 401k participant is not an investment professional and is not going to be making the best decisions.
Exactly. Yeah, no, totally right. He goes on to say that their other investment philosophies and products and strategies can meet your financial objectives much more quickly and safely than a 401k. See, I have an issue with that because it's not a product that ultimately gets you to the top of the mountain and then back down with your income intact. We've talked about this before. It is never a singular product. So a 401k is a retirement accumulation product. It will never retire you as well as you want to. You have to combine that with a comprehensive plan. So to finish his article here, neglect and stewardship, I think we both really agree with that. People need to pay attention to their retirement assets, whether it's real estate or their 401k, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for sure. But the idea that a 401k should be cut out of the plan, which is what he's referring to, he's basically saying that there are other investments and philosophies and things that are just better than the 401k. Well, so sure, of course, yes, I could say yes to that, but it doesn't mean that the 401k should not be an integral part of your climb up the mountain, your accumulation strategy. Just think that's just an interesting way to close out. So again, this article is going to be linked in the show notes. I thought it was an interesting way for us, especially to have Justin here with us, who is a 401k and an actuarial expert on these topics, to say that the 401k is an extremely important tool for asset accumulation. But you've got to educate yourself. You've got to be prepared with the various different things that you might face as far as pitfalls and things like that. But Justin, as we wrap up here, if you were going to give some tips and precautions, some kind of parting thoughts in the world of 401k and these kind of benefits, what would you say to the audience?
Sure. Well, to kind of recap what I was talking about earlier, I would say first it's important to know that you have options in setting up a plan. You should sit down, decide what you would like your plan to look like, and work with a competent professional to help design your plan and make sure that it comes as close to your goals as possible within the rules that we have to operate within. And second, it's important to understand that plans do come with responsibility. Being educated on what that responsibility is and documenting your processes. And again, working with a very competent professional who, as Kraig pointed out, it can be overwhelming to think about having to handle all of those responsibilities. But working with a competent professional that can help you manage that that responsibility, help you set up those processes, and just help you understand what your role is in the compliance of your plan.
No, that's really good. That's a great way to go. And I like how Justin kind of nicely tucked in there that he's competent.
I like to think so.
He's competent. Now, the sad part is that what the audience can't see is that as he says the word competent, I typed it and spelled it wrong. So, so nice little example for me there. Let's make sure to add, how do people get in touch with you? If you're a business owner, if you're someone who's thinking about installing a 401k or offering it, or thinking about having your plan actually benchmarked, double-checked, have it reviewed, how do people get in touch with you, Justin?
Sure. They can reach us through our website at www.acibenefits.com. That's benefits with an S. Or they can reach me via phone at 310-212-2626. And my email address, in the future, I will start using shorter email addresses because this takes a while to say or write out, but it's justin.bonestroo@acibenefits.com, and that's justin.bonestroo@acibenefits.com.
Gotcha. And that'll be in the show notes so that for those of you who are trying to figure out how to spell that along with competent, it'll be in the show notes spelled correctly. I really appreciate you being here, Justin. Thank you again for being on the show. I'm sure we'll have some opportunities to have you back on to talk about some more stuff coming up in the future. There's always new things developing in this realm. And that will wrap it up for today. Thank you for joining us again on Personal Pension Radio.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalpensionradio.com and download your free retirement income report. While you're there, we'd appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening.